Look, lightweight shoes have been really popular recently in tennis, but stability shoes will always last the test of time, so let's talk about some of the best on the market right now. Hey everybody, it's Luca from Rackets and Runners. So unfortunately, my ankle injury from last summer flared up a little bit in the last couple of weeks, so I figured what better way to honor that than with a video outlining the shoes I should probably wear when I get back on court. Stability shoes have been around forever because they really embody what makes a tennis shoe a tennis shoe. Tons of structure, a stable platform, great lockdown, and ample durability to go along with all of that. So they're great if you find yourself in a situation like me, recovering from an injury. Because they're so solid, you're giving yourself the best chance of recovering without relapsing. Of course, as much as they help in that situation, they're certainly not exclusive to those types of players. In fact, they're still the most popular type of tennis shoe full stop just because of how secure they feel. Now before we go on, as usual, let me remind you that any of the products we talk about on this channel you can check out on our website racketsandrunners.ca. Also, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me and the store on Instagram, and let me know in the comments section what you want me to cover next. So back to what I was saying earlier, structure, stability, lockdown, and durability. Those are the characteristics you should look for in a good stability shoe. Usually those are found on shoes with plenty of rubber on the upper, wider outsoles, a deeper cut in the heel, and they also do tend to be a little bit heavier in general. Lightweight shoes with a more minimalist design and exposed mesh like the Solution Speed and Jet Tear are great in their own right, but those design characteristics that make them so lightweight also take away from their stability. We'll probably make a list of the best lightweight shoes in the coming months, but for now, let's talk about the top 5 best stability shoes. Coming in at number 5, we have a shoe from a brand that we stopped carrying for a while, but we were so impressed with their current lineup that we had to bring them back in, and their best shoe is the K-Swiss Ultrashot 3. K-Swiss is known for their more traditional, no-nonsense design, and while that is popular amongst some players, it is also true that over the last decade, if you weren't innovating, you were falling behind. The Ultrashot has helped modernize K-Swiss quite a bit. We'll talk about that more in a second, but at its core, this still has a lot of that traditional DNA, especially in terms of fit. It's quite wide in the toe box and then more snug in the heel with a higher cut back there as well. This fit has historically proven to work best for most foot types because it leaves ample room in the forefoot for irregular or wide feet, but then also provides great lockdown in the heel where that secure sensation is so important. Where K-Swiss has really knocked it out of the park with the Ultrashot is how they've managed to blend that great support with so much comfort. This is where that innovation kicks in. The upper is almost all mesh, which is quite rare for a stability shoe because it usually doesn't maintain its structure as effectively as rubber, but K-Swiss has woven it to be tighter in key areas so that it's both sturdy and adaptable. They've also added plenty of padding in the heel, and my personal favorite feature is this fantastic lacing system, which is great for personalizing just how much lockdown you want. Then you've got the outsole, which is quite wide and stiff in the heel and midsole, but then pretty flexible in the toe box, which does a good job of complementing that natural fitting upper. The result is one of the most comfortable shoes on the market right now that feels almost as structured and stable as industry-leading stability shoes, but those are also significantly more rigid. I'm a big fan. The only issue I have with it is that it is quite heavy, somehow heavier than shoes that have a lot more rubber, which is why I'm not going to put it any higher than 5th. Coming in at number 4, we have a shoe that's been out for a while now, the Nike Vapor Cage 4. This shoe's been out since before the pandemic started. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That said, it's still fantastic and pretty unique for a stability shoe, which are usually quite traditional and one-dimensional. Even just looking at it, you can see it's quite modern, and to be honest, when I first saw it, I thought to myself, no way this is going to provide the stability it needs to be considered a proper stability shoe. Well, I was very wrong. Even with this curved up portion in the heel, the outsole is still extremely sturdy, torsionally rigid, and just as stable as any other shoe, bar maybe 1 and 2 on this list. There's no on-court footage of me wearing this shoe, but I wore it for the whole summer in 2021, and I actually came to really like that little bit of roll that heel portion added to my movement. It's stable and it complements that natural gait cycle, which is a great combination. Then you've got the upper, which is definitely more out there than something like the Ultrashot that we just looked at, but as long as it fits your foot, it's very sturdy. It's made from this 2-piece burrito style of enclosure that is maybe a little bit harder to get into, but once you're in, you're not going anywhere. The whole upper compresses down onto your foot, so you get fantastic lockdown without it being uncomfortable. It just provides a very uniform wrap, again, as long as it fits. I say that because the one little issue with this burrito style of design is that it doesn't allow for as much customization as traditional 3-piece tongues do. Nike has done a good job of keeping the fit wide, but then also snug with compression elements, so it should fit most people, but you should probably try it on first. Durability has to be my favorite thing about the Vapor Cage. It's a Nike shoe, so it's made for aggressive movers who like to slide around, but unlike a lot of their other models, there are tons of durability elements here meant to keep it lasting as long as possible. Not only only are the medial laces covered, but there's also a ton of rubber on this side, so you don't have to worry about busting through the upper on the rear foot when you slide. Otherwise, fantastic lockdown, stability, and modern movements. It's one of the best modern stability shoes right now. Coming in at number 3, we have the New Balance CT Rally, which I'll keep saying at least for the next few times, used to be known as the Lav. This shoe is actually very similar to the Ultra Shot in a lot of ways, but to me, it's just a little bit more refined and especially more modern, which is why I have it coming in a little higher. The two actually fit very similarly. New Balance is another one of those brands that uses that wide toe box, narrow fitting heel, and like the Ultra Shot, the heel also comes up a little bit higher. You can actually see when you compare the two that they have very similar silhouettes and lasts. So then what is it about the CT Rally that's actually better, especially regarding stability? For one, on the lateral side around the 5th metatarsal here, the outsole actually splays out a little bit more, which makes for an even more stable feel. The upper is also mainly mesh, but this one feels just a little bit more robust and structured in key areas, and it keeps its shape a little bit longer. The lacing systems are also similar. Both are very effective at providing a uniform snug wrap without being uncomfortable. I really can't say which one I prefer, although maybe the Ultra Shots is just that little bit better. The most impressive feature of the CT Rally for me has to be the outsole. Out of the box, it's stiff and torsionally rigid, but as you break it in, it softens up to the point where it's surprisingly cushioned. It never gets to a point where that stability is gone. It just feels a little bit more natural and adapts to a variety of foot shapes very well, almost like you're standing on a custom midsole. The arch support is there if you need it, but it's not overbearing, and this is really the area where it separates itself most from the Ultra Shot, which has a pretty rudimentary outsole. The CT Rally is also 35 grams lighter. It's actually the lightest shoe on this list, and while that's not as important for stability shoes, if you're just as stable and lighter, that's fantastic. Right now, for me, it's that one stability shoe that's best for players who prioritize comfort over anything else, but also want the best stability to go along with it. The next two on this list are definitely a little more sturdy and traditional in how they achieve stability, so if comfort's what you're after, you really can't go wrong here. To be fair, you probably already know what these last two shoes are going to be. The question is which one is 1 and which one is 2. Well, coming in at number 2, we have the ASICS Gel Resolution 9. This is probably the best tennis shoe line of all time, definitely the most successful, and that's because ever since the first one came out, ASICS has been methodically refining it into the nearly perfect shoe it is today. You see, the Gel Resolution started off as that classic stability shoe with not many bells and whistles, and while it's kept all of that stability first DNA, it's so much more well-rounded nowadays. It really is the pinnacle of modern technological advancements in a tennis shoe. My goodness, I'm making this sound like it's some sort of NASA-developed technology that's going to take us to another galaxy. Honestly though, in terms of tennis shoes, it kind of is. So the Gel Resolution has all the stability you would ever want, and the upper forms this supportive cage around your foot with all the rubber and then plastic structure in the heel. That has pretty much always been the case with the Gel Res, but now, thanks to its technology, it feels much more responsive and quick feeling than you would expect. The Dynawall sidewall here, which I'm realizing you can't see very well on this shoe, but yes, it provides fantastic lateral support, but it also gives this sensation of energy return that's really impressive and helps make side-to-side movement more efficient. There, you can see it a little bit better on this one. It's that blue thing right there. That does not smell good. Then you've got the gel units in the forefoot and rear portion of the shoe, which give it a very airy sensation. Basically, it feels lighter than it actually is. It's also gotten significantly more comfortable over the last several generations. The upper used to be quite firm, but now it's very flexible and adapts really well to a variety of foot shapes while still maintaining great structure. And then you've got the outsole, and this to me is what separates ASICS from the rest of the competition because it's engineered perfectly for basically any type of player. It will never slip if you don't want it to, but it's also the best shoe for sliding in terms of consistency and ease of entry and exit. It slides for days, and when you combine that with all its support, stability, and responsive feel, you have probably the best shoe for aggressive movers. This is my favorite shoe right now. I want to make it clear that providing this level of stability, support, lockdown, while also being this comfortable, natural, and quick feeling really isn't normal. The only reason it's not number 1 is because there is one shoe that has a little bit more stability to it. It just so happens that number 1 is another ASICS shoe, the Court FF3. They've really been nailing it with this style of shoe for years now. Now just looking at the two, you can tell they're pretty different. The Court FF definitely has a bit more about it, which better represents stability shoes, at least in the traditional sense. It gives you a sensation that not many shoes do nowadays. That feeling of, okay, now I've put these on, I'm wearing a pair of bricks, I can do whatever I want on the court, and the shoe's gonna support me no matter what. Everything about the Court FF is built to be as stable and supportive as possible. It's the widest shoe in ASICS' lineup, it has the highest stack, and the upper has a crazy amount of structure to it. It's also full rubber like the gel resolution, but it's much stiffer, and the lockdown is on a whole nother level. The heel portion is very stiff with quite a bit of compression to it, and this one-piece tongue locks you in better than any other shoe on the market right now. So it has that rock-solid invincibility feel to it, but unlike shoes from 10 years ago and even some other stability shoes, it's quite a bit more comfortable and quicker than you would expect. As long as you're still okay with feeling like there's something on your foot, it is quite comfortable and obviously gets better with break-in. Now, it's definitely not as quick as the gel resolution, it is heavier and definitely not as nimble, but it is still pretty sprightly for something so stable. It has that similar airy feel with the gel pockets, but it also has this twist truss shank here that's very torsionally rigid, but then also provides a snappy feel when you're pivoting. And as far as all the other stability shoe stuff is concerned, sliding is almost as good as on the gel resolution. The durability, we don't even need to talk about, it's so good. And because there's so much rubber and plastic around the heel area, it maintains its structure pretty much forever. It's the shoe I always turn to when I want to be 100% sure that the shoe is going to help me out, whether I'm recovering from injury or if I've been a little bit lazy with my footwork recently. That's why I consider it the best stability shoe right now. That's the end of the list. If you feel like another shoe is worth mentioning, then please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I'll also make a top 5 lightweight speed shoe video in the coming months if that's something that interests you. With that said, that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and remember that if you want to try on any of these shoes, you can come visit us in store, or you can check them out online at racketsandrunners.ca.